Hello beautiful people, and welcome back to my channel. And if you are new, welcome. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and also share with a friend. So first things first, I'm going to start off by outlining the bottom of my brows, and I like to take my time, and I did speed parts of the video up just so that it won't be 2 hours long. And when going over your brows with your spoolie, make sure that you do it with a light touch, because if you put too much pressure, you will wipe away a lot of that product. And as I always like to say, your brows should be sisters, not twins. But since I'm a perfectionist, I have to get mine as close as possible. Now I'm going to take this eyeshadow base to clean up under my brows, and I'm just making sure I get as close as I can to that line and then dragging it up just a little bit. And this color is way too light, but it works. And I'm going to continue to carve the bottom of my brows, and then I'm going to blend it down and blend it out. Now, as you notice, when blending out this product, I did not bring it all the way down the lid, but once I use my beauty blender, it will fade out. Repeating those same steps, get as close to I can to the bottom of my lash line, and then bringing it up just a little bit so that line can be nice and crispy. You don't want to overdo it with this, because you can mess up all your hard work. Now I'm going to take my beauty blender and I'm going to blend this out, and I'm going to continue blending until I get that nice faded look. And these are prescription contacts, and just in case anyone wanted to know, this is the Mystic Blue. Again, these are prescription. Now taking my foundation shade to carve out the top of my brows. Sometimes you don't have to carve out the top, it just 100% depends on you. But you can use your foundation shade if you cannot find your concealer. And for me, I just chose to use my foundation because I like the way it looked a little better than the concealer. Okay, and now I'm just going to take my sponge and make sure that that is nicely blended out and nice and even and nice and flat. And I like to get as close as I possibly can to my brows to make sure that there's no harsh line between my brows and the concealer. Now I'm just going back in and making sure that I blend that concealer out a little bit more before adding on any setting powder, because I did let it sit for a while and you don't want any creasing. Now you can add on your eyeshadow right after you do your concealer. I just prefer to add some type of powder first. Now going in with a transition color, and I'm just going right above the crease, my natural crease, and I'm just lightly blending that out using circular motions and back and forth windshield wiping motions. Now you want to do this and continue to add as much color as you want. I just added enough so that that color will show through. And also, please make sure that you blend before going on to any other color. You don't want to just slap a bunch of colors on top of each other without properly blending. Okay, and now I'm starting to like the color that it is. It's not too light and it's not too dark, it's just right. And now I'm just going to move on to my second color, which is this pretty green, and I'm just tapping it on very lightly at first, and then I'm going to blend it out. And I tapped it on at first just to make sure that this is the right green I wanted to use, or did I want to use another one. I don't know if you guys can tell the pattern that I'm going for, but I chose the colors that's on my clothes, and this green matched perfect. I'm just using some light circular motions to buff that into that transition color so it can be a nice and even blend, and then I'm going to continue to switch back and forth between the colors just to make sure that it's even and blended nicely together. You want to make sure that the colors transition into each other. Okay, now I'm just taking that same eyeshadow base and I'm going to lightly cut my crease. Normally I would use a concealer to cut my crease because it shows a little better, but since this was right in front of me, I was like, why not use this? And it works just the same. And just so I don't mess up those colors, I am going to take my finger to lightly blend it out. Now I'm going in with my third color, and this is a cute golden yellow. And I believe this one is a pressed pigment. I will list everything that I used in this video down in the description box, because I noticed when I went to swipe it, it did not show up as good. So I had to use more of a tapping motion. And this color is buildable, as you can see. And I'm just tapping and making sure that I add enough but not too much, mainly so that it will show through. And then I'm going to blend everything out. Now I'm just going back in with that green shade and making sure that that green and that yellow is nicely blended together before going in with that transition color, just to make sure that that is evenly buffed in as well. And you want to continue to do this until everything is nicely faded together. Again, doing a cut crease with that same eyeshadow base, but not really a deep cut crease, but enough so that yellow will show through. And you want to lightly tap. You don't want to swipe, because if you swipe, you will make a mistake and swipe too far like I did, but it's okay. And now I'm just taking my finger and buffing that in. And again, with this yellow shade, make sure that you do more tapping motions than swiping, because with the tapping it will show up a little bit more. You can do the swiping. It's just starting off, I prefer you to tap, because that base or concealer is still a little wet. And I had to add a little bit more of the yellow onto the right side, because I went over a little heavy on the left. But then I decided to just go ahead and go in with my green and blend it out a little bit and see how it looks. I'm not sure why on camera the right side, the yellow looks a little more golden than the left side, but off camera they actually are the same. Now I'm just going in with some moisturizer before going in with any primer, and making sure that that is nicely blended into my skin and before moving on. And as you can see, a little goes a long way, but since I have very dry skin, I do use quite a bit just to make sure that my face is nicely moisturized. The first primer that I'm gonna go in with is a hydrating primer, and I just added a little bit, and the little bit goes a long way. It does fit my whole entire face, and I'm just making sure that I pat and buff that into my skin very nicely before going in with the second primer. The second primer is more of a matte primer, so I am only using it in my T-zone area, and my T-zone area is mainly where I get oily at. And as you can see on that left side, I went a little too far out, but that's okay. Now I'm going to dot a few drops of foundation onto my face and slightly blend it out before blending it out with my beauty blender. You can use a brush, your finger, or your beauty blender, whatever works for you. And I decided to spray my beauty blender a little bit because it is dry. I prefer not to really use a damp beauty blender as far as water. I prefer to use a setting spray if I do have to do it damp. and that will help it blend out a little bit more as well as blend into your skin. And as you can see, a little goes a long way. And this foundation, I love it because it covers those spots very well. It doesn't obviously cover them 100%, but it covers them enough. And also this foundation is, as you can see, buildable, so you can add as much as needed, but I just added a little more just to make sure that everything is nicely covered before moving on to the other side. Now repeating the same steps, just adding a few dots and then slightly blending it out a little bit with my finger. And then I'm going to go in with my beauty blender yet again. And I did spray it again because I am working on the other side of my face. And just lightly dabbing that in, making sure that everything sets nicely into my skin. And with this, I am moving slower and taking my time to make sure that everything is nicely blended. The video is sped up for timing purposes. And again, it is buildable, and I'm just adding a few little more just to add on to those areas. And I normally wait to the very end to add product onto my nose, but since I am working in this area, I'm just going to go ahead and add it now. Also making sure I get under my neck. Now on my forehead, I did take smaller dots, and I did not blend it out with my finger as much. I just went straight in with the beauty blender. Now this is the time you can spray your face yet again, just to make sure that everything is nice and set into place before moving on to any other steps. Now I did lightly mist my face, but for some reason that part got cut out. But you can blend it in with a beauty blender, or you can let it dry on its own. It's 100% up to you. I just decided to blend it in a little more because I was on a time crunch. Now I'm just taking this blemish concealer and I'm just adding it to certain areas that I noticed that didn't really get covered. And you can do this step before foundation or after, it's just up to you. Now I'm just going in with some concealer under my eyes just to highlight under my eyes a little bit. And with this concealer, it does dry a little bit fast, so you might want to move a little faster when working with this. And I did add only a little bit to my face because I noticed with this it's kind of thick and a little goes a long way. Right here I did kind of add a lot, but not as much as I usually would. And with most concealers, if you would like a more full coverage concealer, let it dry down a little bit, but not too much before blending it out. Before going in with any powder, you just want to make sure that you have no creasing going on, and just use your setting powder to set under your eyes. I like to use a setting powder that's closer to my skin tone. It's totally up to you. You can use a translucent, you can use a white or a banana powder. It's 100% your choice. Use what works for you. Please don't go out buying any new products because of what you see someone else use. I've done that myself in the past, and trust me, you'll end up wasting money that way. Now I'm just adding a little bit of powder to my nose just to make sure that I don't get super oily on my nose, and a little bit on my forehead, even though I did not highlight on my forehead, and then just blend that out right away. Now I'm gonna finish fading out the front of my brows just a little bit, and this part is optional. You can 100% finish your brows before doing any type of foundation, or you can do your brows at the end of everything. 100% your choice. Now I'm just going to take a little bit of bronzer to kind of contour my nose a little bit, and I just added a real little, but on the left side, for some reason at the top by my brow, I went a little heavy, but that's okay because I will show you how I fix it up in a minute. I did not put any concealer on the center of my nose. I honestly forgot, but I am going in with a powder to give it that highlight effect anyway, and it still works. Now I'm just going in with a little bit of bronzer just to contour my face just a little bit, and a little bit of bronzer goes a long way. This bronzer is very pigmented, so you want to make sure that you don't overdo it. And as you can see, I don't go over my forehead or anywhere else. I kind of lightly blend this up to my temple area, but mainly blending it outward and upward. And again, you want to make sure that you use a little. A little goes a long way. And as I always say, this step is optional. I don't do it all the time, but just to make sure that the bronzer is nicely cut and carved, you can do this step. And I do not let this sit for a long period of time. But as you can see, before even adding this product, I have a natural kind of contour anyway. So again, this is 100% optional. Now to my favorite part, the highlight. And I like to lightly highlight under my brow bone just to give it a little more, shine. And also down the center of my nose. And I did kind of wet my brush just a little bit so that the product show a little bit more. And I'm also going to do this on my Cupid's bow. And then I'm going to lightly blend it out. And I'm also adding some to my cheek area and right under my eye, just a little bit, and then blending it out. I want it to show, but not too heavy. With my eyeliner, I like to get as close as I possibly can to my lash line without poking myself in the eye, and take my time and lightly make small lines until I get to the wing area and kind of figure out how I want my wing to go. If I want it to be a more high wing, low, just 100% depends on what look I'm going for as far as the eyeliner. And lately I've been liking the not so thick eyeliner, and that's only because I like for my shadow to show more than I do my eyeliner. And now I'm just taking a little bit of highlight and I'm adding that to the inner tear duct. And now I'm just repeating the same step again, getting as close to the bottom lash line as I possibly can. And with this side, I am going to kind of mess up on the wing just a little bit, and I will show you how I fix that. I think I went a little too high and a little too thick at the tip, but again, I will show you how I fixed it. And I'm just going to go in with some mascara. I was debating on if I should do lashes or not, but then again, I was on a time crunch, excuse me, and I also waited to the last minute to film this video because I just was going to do the makeup, and then I thought about it, why not record it, because you're going to be doing your makeup anyways. Okay, and I did set my face again with a setting spray, but for some reason my camera had cut off, so you didn't get to see that part. But thanks for watching the video. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and also share with a friend. And I hope you enjoyed this next clip. I do have a sneak peek. So now I'm just going to add on some brown lip liner, and I'm going to show you guys different shades of lip gloss that I made. And if you want to know more about my lip gloss, please DM me and I will give you more information. So with this first gloss, it's more of a golden shade, but All of my glosses are clear, but they do have a tint of color. With this one, it has a tint of a goldish color, but you really cannot tell. And the lip glosses that you see me trying on throughout this video are my own personal lip glosses. And I am going to add these on with my finger because I don't like when my lip glosses get the lip liner stuff in them. That's just my personal opinion. Now with this next one, it is a more of a rose gold color, and this one is so pretty. It gives you a light tint of pink, but not too much. And again, I like to use my finger because I do not want the lip liner to get onto or into my tubes. And again, they are clear with a hint of color. Now with this next one, it is a reddish pink color and it has a more pinkish tint to it, but this one is so pretty. It's actually one of my favorites between this one and the next one. And with these glosses, they are buildable, so you can add on as much as you need if you want those colors to really show. They also are very shiny and long lasting. Now this is my other favorite, and this one, if you remember the NYX Butter Gloss, I think it's the Maybelline and Praline, this is what this one reminds me of. Now this one is a clear, but it's more of a frosted clear, but it still is 100% clear. And this one is also a 100% clear. It's just in a colorful tube. And again, thank you all for watching. I hope you all enjoyed this video just as well